Hey everybody, and welcome to November 2023. I can't believe it's almost the end of the year already. This is the Instructor Community Call for November. My name, as always, is Kyle Rosenthal. I'm a Microsoft Certified Trainer as well as an account executive here at Skillable. My contact details, as always, are there, so if you do want to reach out at all, please do. So welcome. We are recording this. We do have at least one person that's joined us so far. So welcome, Martinez. But we might have some more people come through. But there's always a lot of people that listen to this as well, or that watch this after. If you are consuming this after, of course, feel free to reach out and let us know. If there's particular topics that you want to have covered, that sort of thing. Reach out and let us know that you are actually watching and when you're consuming it. So it gives us a bit of an idea as to who's out there. So the agenda for today, welcome. We've also got sort of our regular sort of housekeeping of some of the updates for new content. That's the thing that's being released. And then we are going to be joined by the one, the only Damon Fount. Now, I'll explain why Damon's important for us when we get to there, but he's a good guy to have a chat to, so we'll have a chat with him. And that'll be about the events and that thing that we do and what leads up to some of those events. It's quite timely since we've got a pretty large Microsoft event coming up next week. Then we go into a pretty exciting segment, which is instructor recognition, where we will call out a few of the instructors that have reached some milestones. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that. We haven't done that before as one of these, but we'll try and sort of throw that in on a semi-regular basis. All right, so just some updates on some of the Microsoft content. So with the Microsoft content, there are some recently published mock courses that we've got put out. So the introduction to SQL databases, server administration, some server essentials that have been put out as well as some updates to the AI. OpenAI course. In particular with that, there's actually some new labs that got put out into there. So just be aware of that, that there are 3 additional labs that have been put into place. AI 900 has also been refreshed as well, and that's to include some of the OpenAI content as well. In addition to that, you'll see some changes with AZ 500. So AZ 500, AZ 700, and SC 900 all have a new Windows 11 VM that's attached to them. So I know there's been a few requests from that because it was some quite old VMs that are attached to that. That's not within our control, but it's now that the Microsoft image has been updated, we've pushed out that update as well. So that means you've got some new experiences to maybe get your head around as well. So just some really good updates from a usability and classroom perspective. In addition to that, we do have now some labs from Waypoint as well. So the Waypoint labs are now available. So that's where the introduction to SQL databases, installation, storage, computes with Windows Server, networking with Windows Server, identity with Windows Server, and the Windows Server Essentials and Windows Server Admin. Now, the good thing with those is they're classes and topics that have really been asked for quite a lot, right? So there is that push, obviously, for the cloud. But the reality is there's still a lot of demand, that we've had from MCTs as well as from training centers, because your customers are wanting to, you're still using on-prem, so you still need to be able to teach around that on-prem environment. So that's good. That's exciting that we've got that now in place. And then just some other updates. A bunch of updates we're throwing in this month. There was some course retirements, so the MS 100, MS 101, MS 220, MS 100, MD 100, and MD 101. Now with those MS 100 and MS 101, that's now being combined into an MS 102 as a replacement course. and MD100 and MD101. Again, there's a replacement for that, which is the MD102. So obviously, you know, for the challenge from us as an MCT is just that delivery is getting used to the new content that's in there, refreshed and updated, and obviously a little bit compressed and compacted as well. So just bear in mind the end of December, so the end of this year, MS 203 and MS 600 are both being retired from the courseware as well. As always, if you're wanting to get a hold of the lab content to use in a classroom, you either have the choice of going to the marketplace, so marketplace.skillable.com, or alternatively, you can also come directly to Skillable. There's some different restrictions on which direction you need to go, but if you contact us, we'll be able to point you in the right direction as to which way is going to be best. Of course, as instructors, you have access to be able to get to the lab content for free, so you don't have to sign up or purchase labs or anything like that for the instructors to be able to use. Another one, just from Veeam, we discussed this last month as well, that Veeam V12 for that has been released. So the V12 course, Configure, Manage, and Recover, now with the extra 30 days of post-class access. So that's a big move that Veeam have put into place. It's a big bonus. It's tripled the amount of post-course access so that the learners can actually use. So that's a really good thing, and that'll be very positive for anyone doing any Veeam courses. Okay, now our fireside chat with Mr. Damon Fout. So Damon, welcome. Damon is our delivery operations coordinator here at Skillable. Damon, do you want to just give us a little bit of background on you and tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey, it's good to be here. Good to meet everybody. And my name is Damon Fout, as Kyle said, delivery operations coordinator now. I've been with Skillable about 5 years. I came on board as tech support. So if you submitted any tickets, you may have reached out to me at some point. I've worked my way up through the events team as a lowly content fella, and now I am at the top of the rung, as it were, making sure that these events go off without a hitch. It's been quite the ride, and events are exciting to say the least. But I've learned a ton from Kyle, Quinn, and the rest of the Microsoft gang. So that's where I am.
So, like when we talk about events, like in a Skillable sort of context, what sort of size event are we talking about? Like where do we start? Like what would be the smallest event that you've been involved in?
The smallest event may have been 30 instances, to be honest. It comes down to importance to the customer, but also the size of the delivery. So we've had events that were very high stakes deliveries of only the 30 instances, but were over 10 terabytes because the labs were just massive and needed constant monitoring. Typically, we're on site for anything that is as small as 2,500 on attendees on site, upwards of 30,000. So there really is no limitation. It just depends on how important this is to you.
And so what's the sort of, like from an event perspective, what's the sort of services that get provided? Like, like what could someone, like if someone was wanting to run an event that had hands-on labs involved, what's the sort of thing that you coordinate as part of your delivery operations?
Sure. So my team can assist with any part of the event process when it comes to the content, the lab delivery, the virtualization, and hardware being put on site. So we typically about 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out, we're engaged by the customer and told of an upcoming event. We then suss out whether we're going to build the content or they will. If we're building it, then essentially you get chaperones, Skillable platform specialist, to chaperone the SMEs through the entire content building process. If we are going to build the content for them, then we engage pro services, and my team works with them to ensure that the content is hitting all of the workback schedules key dates, and then we will end up testing So for these large events, the big joke is you don't know what's going to happen until we have all the butts in the seats, right? So we try and even virtualize that. So we'll do testing on our side a few weeks out to see what the content, what the environments will do to the platforms, and then adjust as needed to ensure the delivery is a success.
So, and what, like, when with those sort of like the larger events, what's the largest number of concurrent sessions that we've had?
The largest number of concurrent sessions that I have been a part of was 4,500 attendees. And part of what we do with the delivery is we'll actually pre-stage or pre-instance a number of the sessions in the background. So that way, when the attendees come into the room, sit down and press launch, they're presented with a lab immediately. So with those overlaps, we were up over 9,000 because we would have the 4,500 seat count plus a little extra. So I wouldn't be surprised if we were near the 10,000 concurrent instances running through our platform.
Yeah. And I think that's actually an important distinction, say, between a classroom, like a traditional classroom that an MCT would be in, or like a trainer would be in, versus an event. Is that pre-instancing, like sort of like the with the, like, if as an MCT, if I'm training in a classroom, be doing presentation and be like, okay, right, so let's get the lab started now, and you can do a little bit of that song and dance while the labs are being started, and while things are starting up, and it might take a minute or two for things to go. At the events, there's a timetable which says that this is going to run between 10:30 and 11:30 is when this session is going to run. So typically, that idea of having that pre-instance or that pre-staged environment that's ready to go means that the wait time has already been done, and it's just simply when someone hits go that they're immediately presented with that lab. And again, it just sort of takes away the requirement to have the requirement to have that wait built in when you've got a very finite time to be able to do. So it is a bit of a distinction. And the follow-on question that I often get asked, and I'll answer this for you though, because I'm not going to ask you this question, is that like from an MCT, it's like, well, why don't we do that in like classes? Like, why don't we have like regular classes doing that? And then the answer, of course, is that we don't do that because we don't know when things are going to start. Like, in a regular, 5-day class, we don't know when a trainer is going to go and start a particular lab for, module 1 lab is like some trainers will do that right off the bat. Some will do it, an hour in. Some might do it after lunch, because it's just how the delivery is. Whereas with the event ones, we know exactly where it is. And so, say for instance, and the reason I got you in this week was because, or this month was because next week is one of our large events, right? Is Ignite. So Microsoft Ignite is happening in Seattle. What's the on site typically? What sort of, who do we what's the sort of the support and that thing that we have on site?
Yeah, excellent. When we go to a customer event on site, we like to bring some folks to staff what we call the war room. So that is going to be in a basement, in a closet, in a back room, hidden off. It's a couple of folks monitoring all of the dials and blinky lights. If anything gets a little squirrely, those people are also on a chat with our virtual support team, and they will jump into action immediately. We also bring what we call a TLG, Technical Learning Guide, and we have a TLG for every room. This is the bright smiling face that is assisting with all of the platform necessities in room. So maybe it's explaining how type text works, ensuring that all of the users are having a positive experience. They're not SMEs of the content, though typically our TLGs are clever enough to work through some of the issues, but they are SMEs on the platform. And also they're SMEs when it comes to chaos. So if anything does get a little backed up, or there's a little concern or churn, they're in there keeping their cool head. They're in contact with the war room, and we're working through any issues that may come up. We have found that this is pivotal to the success of an event, because if it's all over the phone, all virtual, people get nervous over certain spinning, just loading screens, right? So having somebody there explaining this is okay, this is expected, this may be capacity, and then working through it is key to the success of any event, in my opinion.
I always say that like that if you let people's imagination fill in the blanks, then that's it'll do that, right? You know, like if people have like thoughts about, oh, this is like all these things are going wrong, unless there's a reassuring voice to tell them they're not, then they start building it up more and more. Like, you know, like it's you start getting more and more nervous about things that you don't need to be nervous about, because
That's right.
because you can.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine a call from your wife that just says, "Call me." Your mind is going to be far worse than, "Hey, can you pick up milk from the grocery store?"
Yeah, exactly. Like I received and this is going to show just how old I am. I received a pager message when from my wife at one point in the past, and it was like, I've cut myself and I'm going to the doctors, and it's like, what? and yeah, what it was she was cutting something up, and it had nicked her finger, which was bleeding profusely, needed to be, but you know, like I'm like,
that's right.
Mind was going in all sorts of directions. But yeah, so like if yeah, exactly. If you need to, if you've got someone there who can be the reassuring voice, who can be that calm voice, and typically with that, we use and we always have. We've always used Microsoft certified trainers or trainers of some sort for that purpose. And the reason for that is because they're used to the chaos of the classroom, of having the divergent requests or being able to be that calm voice. So, you know, and we've like in the past, like, I know when we have had ignites in the past, where or back to the tech ed days, when we would have the open sort of lab rooms where people could just kind of drop in. We would have like up to 20, 30 MCTs that would be on site with those. Now, obviously, it depends on the particular customer and their requests and their requirements as to what staff we have. But you know, there are opportunities that do pop up every now and then for those sorts of folk to be able to come in and join us, to be able to be that voice in the room. So and
completely agree. The stories
sorry.
we've had and the things that we've seen from the MCTs and how they handle that room chaos, as you mentioned, is amazing. It is wildly different than a number of other potential TLGs that have worked with us. The mastery of the room was phenomenal, and I so much respect for you guys.
I remember like and so we've had him on before, so I can refer to him. I can do a name check on him. But when we've had Glenn Morrison before, so Glenn is almost infamous famous but infamous in event circles for a particular. There was a session that he was presenting that it was in a small room, and he was actually leading the session, and had ended up having no internet access. I think the machine he was on, like the slides didn't work. There was like basically anything that could go wrong with that particular session went wrong. And it was a chalk and talk type thing, so it was only like a half-hour sort of session, whatever. But he ended up getting like full marks, like in the evaluation from everyone that was in there, because he just rolled with it and he went, okay, I can't do this, like, you know, mentally checking off, I can't do this, that doesn't work. Okay, well, this is how we're going to do it now. So he just presented for half an hour with nothing, and was able to still impart and knowledge and get people to they walked away happy with the fact that they that they learned something. So yeah, so that was that, like that, and that I think is it's the power or the confidence of someone who has been in front of the group of people when everything's going wrong. So because that's what happens sometimes,
Right.
So
Yeah.
try to avoid that as much as possible. All right, so but every now and then it happens, right? Or even if it's just a hiccup, like being able to take on board something and then go, okay, let's go on and let's move on from there. So um so you said typically about 6 to 8 weeks out for an event is when we get engaged. So using Ignite as an example, how long is the journey to get to Seattle next week?
Ignite we were first engaged at second to last week of August. So 8-10 weeks, I believe, is
Okay.
what that breaks out to. And what we've done for Ignite is 23 unique lab sessions. So that means 23 unique teams to onboard, work with, and assist in developing their content and making sure that it's ready for the event next week.
Perfect. And then there's the and of course it's not just that one event running at one time. Like there'll be there's multiple events can be running in the same week, and just kind of that's part of your coordination, Mr. Coordinator.
That's right. That's right. We have multiple events, multiple initiatives, varying sizes. Ignite is one of the largest, typically, and in the past has always been one of the top two for our yearly events when it comes to attendee count and even complexity. Microsoft is tip of the spear when it comes to a lot of technology. So they're pushing our platforms and we're pushing them back when it comes to deploying 300 concurrent situations all at once that wasn't designed to be concurrently launched that way. It's Azure capacity is not ready all the time for the level of teaching that the rest of the world is pushing. So it's a fun journey, and there's a lot of coordination, a lot of testing, a lot of planning, a lot of math in the background, spreadsheets galore. But it's always a good time. It's getting on site, seeing everything work, all those butts in seats, folks learning, and it's I don't know, it's rewarding. It's very rewarding.
I think for me that was one of the things that Corey taught me very early on. Was that to take that moment, to take that step back, whilst everything is up and running, and just take that moment to look around and go, I did that. That was how this happened was because of the actions that our team took and everything like that. But that's us. And the other thing that I often get asked is because we do have events that are worldwide, so there will be a core team of people that will move to events literally across the world. And I always get asked why does it have to be a group of people that come in to do, isn't there someone local that can do whatever it is that we're doing? So I'm going to ask you what your response to that is, and I'm going to give you what my response would be.
Okay, so the question is, why would we send people rather than find local?
Yeah,
right?
Why would Microsoft go, we'll take, the group of 6-8 people and move them to whatever country is it, for a day and a half.
Right. So I think Microsoft, and in working with Microsoft, they have their own events teams that they send everywhere as well. So they, I believe, are more in tuned with, I don't want to call it a sickness, but a unique personality that lives and is passionate about the success of large scale deliveries. These are very high risk, very high impact. They take a lot of hours and time. And when things get squirrely, because almost every event, something will get squirrely and there needs to be a repair immediately. That takes a unique person to be able to wade those waters. And I think that Microsoft, especially, as I said, they're in tune to when you have a team that you can rely on, that you know will walk through fire to make sure the event is a success, they stick with that. And it's a very difficult person to find. And I don't think you're going to be able to find them on just any street corner. It comes with experience. It comes with trust. And maybe it is a sickness, but you know, it's something. It's definitely it's something. It's a very unique personality trait, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. Like my response typically is that the really anyone can do what we do, but not in the time scale that we do it. And like that's like, you know, like on you pointed out the right thing. You pointed out one of the exact problems, right? Is that, say for instance, if something goes wrong in a session, there's no do-overs. Like, you know, like it's a packed session, right? You've got 100 people sitting in a, like an instructor-led room who want to go, and they've got an hour that they've got set aside from an overall conference to do this particular topic. And if that doesn't work, then they've wasted an hour. Right. If something goes wrong, then if it's fixed quick enough, then there's recovery. Like, you know, if we're in a typical classroom, you know, like say for instance, if something doesn't work on day one and it's a 5-day course, you've got time to be able to make that up, right? You've got time to be able to oh, okay, you know, we'll bring that back a little bit later on. But in the event world, you don't have that. You typically don't have that great, like that time grace to be able to do that. Like, you know, it is very much like if it fails now, then it's failed, and it's a much larger impact as well than a 30, like 30 people in a class, or well, 15 people in a classroom to 100 people sitting in a like in an event. And plus, I think there's a different focus because it is much more time poor with regards to what the response has to be. People are also time poor with regards to what their expectations are as well. So I think that's part of it. So yeah, so like you know, the when we used to have to do deployments on site and that sort of thing, and you know, start up completely afresh, it was it was okay. Well, so if you know, I would do deployment presentations to folk during when I was doing training, and it's okay, right? So, you know, if you had to deploy 3,000 machines, how long would you need to do that? And they go, oh, we could do that. Probably, you know, we'd do it as a staggered deployment. It would be over a period of, you know, like the 3 months or 6 months or whatever. I said, well, you've got 3 days, and it's on a network that's been stood up less than 8 hours before, and that's where the difference between, like, you know, even an enterprise environment to an event environment comes in. So, but yeah, so but you're right, it is a sickness, I think. So, I think that's probably a very accurate way of describing it. All right. So yeah, so the typically, like you know, as we said, like, you know, we do use like MCTs and that's the thing or trainers in those sort of environments. Is there opportunities, like, you know, that people might be able to get involved in that?
Absolutely. When Microsoft events specifically come up, any event comes up, but specifically around Microsoft events, we love to have the MCT community come in and assist us with the TLGs, the TLGing process. What we will typically do as the events come back and they begin to grow, as we know they're going to, we will have community call outs. We'll have people reach out from within the community. Kyle will likely be one of them, looking for any volunteers that are willing to come. Well, not volunteers, but folks to come and assist us with these events. It's an as needed basis, but events are coming back. We can see this with rumblings of Ignite growing. Build came back this year with labs. I'm sure there's road shows in the future. So things are getting back to pre-Cootie days where we can start to travel more, where we can start to have in-person events, massive events. 2019 Ignite was about 23,000 attendees or something massive.
Yeah.
It was very big.
Yeah.
And this year it's not as large, but I would not be surprised if these things do start to grow. So we'll go from 4 concurrent labs back up to the 20 concurrent labs, and we're going to need support. We'll need TLGs, and that call will absolutely go out.
Excellent. Yeah, like so keep an eye out on the socials and that sort of thing. And we will, like, you know, we do have methods to reach out, obviously, to the MCT community. It is typically a small group that we need. So, like, you know, so therefore, don't be disappointed if you don't get selected. but you know, it's always good to have new, you know, fresh blood coming through as well. So yeah. All right. Well, Damon, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. I think that's been good to give a bit of an insight into what those events are, particularly if, like, you know, if there are folk that are going to see we're going to Ignite next week. You'll typically see some of our folk wandering around the instructor-led lab room. So, so, you know, reach out and say hello. You might even spot Damon in the wild. But only if he manages to escape from his closet. So
that's right.
From the darkened room. But yeah, like, it's yeah. So thanks for that, Damon. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. This has been awesome.
No worries. All right. So now we move on to instructor recognition. So this, as I said, we've done a this is the first time we've sort of done a particular call out as part of one of these monthly one of our monthly meetings, but we'll, you know, continue to put this in. So since the beginning of October, we've put out 1,309 badges that have been issued to 896 instructors. That's massive. That's a really incredible effort. So really appreciate all of the instructors that are involved. Obviously, you know, you're you know, the front line on our platform in front of the students, and also you know, oftentimes are our best advocate and our harshest critic, which both of those are, you know, really are appreciated, right? The you know, feedback, and that's the thing, as we say every month, you know, give us the feedback on the platform. If there's things that you need to do, then, you know, then we can, you know, with or things that you suggest to improve, then we can certainly do that. All right, so let's run through a couple of sort of the really high points of what we've had. So first off, congratulations to 252 instructors who taught their first class in the last month, and in particular to call out. Now, I'm probably going to butcher your name, so I apologize in advance. But Oleji Omatala, congratulations on your first class, and yeah, to all the 251 of the other instructors, big congrats to you as well. Congratulations, Farhan, for reaching 10 students. You know, it's going along the way. It's one of our first milestones to get through. Then we've got folk like Christopher George. So just getting started this month, so last month, and then reached 25 students to be able to teach. So you know, again, one of our milestones along the way. The next milestone after 25 students is 100 students, right? So 100 students. Alan, congratulations, Alan, for getting 100 students, and that was over 20 and teaching 25 classes. Yeah, like, this is I think as instructors, until you start having some numbers put against it, you actually don't necessarily know or realize the impact that you're making and how many people you're actually reaching out to. And that's where folk like, say, for instance, Ryan, who has reached 5,500 students, like, you know, like the 5,500 students, and that's, you know, teaching on our platform, the being able to reach. Like that's a lot of people's lives who probably overselling it to say have been changed, right? But have gained knowledge from being in a class and being being in an environment where they've actually learned, being able to ask questions from an expert in the room. So so congratulations, Ryan. And the final one to call out is Ryan Randall for delivering so 500 classes. So Ryan, again, massive impact of folk that have been in those classes, right? So even if it's like 2-3 people a class, that starts to really extrapolate, right? And it's very rarely 2-3 people in the class. So yeah, so congratulations, and of course congratulations to all of the folk that have had badges issued over the last month. If you do get the notification to say, hey, we've issued you with a badge, please feel free to display it, link us on LinkedIn, to say that you're showing it off. We'll give you a call out as well, like in those sort of cases too. And thank you for your support along those. And of course, we'll make this part of our sort of regular sort of environment to be able to do call outs as well. Now, just a reminder for some of our instructor offers. So the instructor offers, so being able to do prep. So we've got the mock all access pass, so the mock lab access pass, as well as the MCT and the AWS all access passes. So those ones are for our the all access passes are for the challenge labs. So that'll be so you can get access to all the challenge labs to be able to run, as well as those as well as them being able to get access to the mock labs too. So all of those to be able to sign up for those, to enable them, go out through to skillable.com to the /offers to be able to sign up into there. All right, now we do have there was a question that came up asking how to get a voucher to certify to what you want to be able to do to teach classes. All right, so I'm just going to take a guess of what it is that you're asking about. If for Microsoft certified courses, you have to have done the exam for the course that you're going to be teaching in order to be able to be certified to teach that course. There is a grace period from when the course first gets released to when you have to have done the exam, and from memory it's around 30 days from memory from when the course gets issued out. If you're asking about the access to the class labs, then that's through the skillable.com/offers. Otherwise, if it's more of an MCT access question to becoming an MCT or anything like that, my recommendation would be to go to Microsoft Learn and then look for certification in there. That might give you some of those details around either what's required to teach a course, or if you're looking to do an exam or anything like that, that'll also be linked for within there. I'm just reading Martinez, what you said: 6 certifications, 6 of the fundamentals, 1 of the associates, and I'm about to get 3 more to impart what I've learned. So I think what you're asking about is that you're doing the exam, you've done the exams. How do you show that you can teach those? I think that might be what you're asking. In that case, say for instance, as an MCT, as long as you are a Microsoft certified trainer, if you do the exam, then you can take the training, or so you can run the training. So there's no requirement for doing any train the trainers or anything like that for particular classes. So for things like the Office 365 Copilot license, at the moment, Microsoft haven't given us MCTs access to that. The closest you can get to that is if you look for the instructions on the OpenAI course. So that's the AI 500. From memory is the course from within there. If you look for the instructions on that one, there's actually a link to go to an OpenAI sign up. If you go into there now, in the drop down, there is no value in the drop down for MCT. There's MVP, there's partners, and that sort of thing. But if you select other, and then in the box underneath, type in I'm an MCT and put in your MCT ID, then they'll issue you with an OpenAI license. So that's the closest we can get to an Office 365 Copilot license at the moment. Yeah, so I'm sure at some point it will become available, but that's as close as we get now. Okay, just a link for some of our resources that are available. So the instructor recognition, the instructor dashboard, obviously when you're logged into Skillable, and then we do also have that the Slack channel to be able to use as well. Well, really appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming in. Those that are listening to this post, thank you very much for listening to it, listening through, watching, and make sure to tag us on some of our socials. That's all of our social links in there. Basically, we're Skillable at Skillable Labs. And then, of course, the important one is feedback.skillable.com. Now, the reason that's important because that's your chance to be able to come back to us, can improve, change, that sort of thing, whatever it might be, let us know. All right. Well, thank you very much. And we'll see you next month. Really appreciate it.